Hey, um, welcome back. This is just, I need to talk things off my chest. And this is not going to be a very positive vlog. I just wanted to touch on the subject of trauma, especially trauma that you are still, that it's ongoing. Let's say you are in a relationship with an abusive man, and this man is every day he's beating you, and every day you get over it and you live day by day. But the moment he beats you again, then the trauma is just, it's just adding up to the trauma that you already have. I just came from a viewing, and a viewing not for an apartment but for a simple room. Um, so Spare Room is this platform in the UK that people use to find rooms. This lady contacted me on there, as I placed an ad that I'm looking for a room. And, you know, the thing is, if you know a bit of the African culture, you know how people actually, Africans, live in the UK. So I wasn't really, and especially after this ordeal with the previous people that I lived with for a brief month, um, it wasn't really appealing to me. But since I'm in a hotel, and like hotel is more expensive than just getting a room, I thought, okay, let me just give it a chance and see. The area, I don't really like it. It's that one of those typical area which is mainly um, occupied. Actually, it's cluttered with just one particular group, and I prefer to live in anyway. But doesn't matter. Let's move on. And so I had an appointment today. I went there. It took me forever to get there because all of a sudden the trains are not working. There are like maintenance with the tubes and stuff, so it took forever to get there. And I got there, and the building is like, it's a council flat. You can literally see that it's a council flat. If you have been to the UK, a council flat is something I believe it's owned by the government, and normally it's given to um, people with low income. And I believe eventually, after living there for a amount of years, you are allowed to be the first option to buy if that's possible. But it's a council flat. They are poorly maintained. It looks hideous, like hideous. And in normal situation, before I was before I was in this torture program, I would never consider living in a place like that. But desperate times calls for desperate measures. So I went there. I'm like, okay, that's fine. Went through all the security. I'm like, at least it's very secured. And I got there. The lady was very nice, and she showed me the rooms that she had. She said that she renovated, but at least it was clean. In my opinion, it looked clean enough, you know, that I will be able to live there and not look at all the exteriors and stuff. Then we got to the point like, okay, if I'm interested, what would the next step be? So I think I wanted to meet, like, because I notice whenever I get somewhere, people who are normally working, all of a sudden, either they all of a sudden work for the NHS and then working from home, you know? So I wanted to meet the people in the house, and the lady was wearing this earpiece. and somebody was talking to her while I was talking to her. So at one point she said like, sorry, I need to cut you off, you know, so that she could concentrate on me. And then I met one of the flatmates because I asked to meet her, and she was a black girl, also African, and just just random meeting, greeting, hi, how are you doing, and stuff, you know, just to see the people that are already living there. She told me there was another lady, um, with an older lady who was like 60 years, who was going to take one of the other rooms, and then I will have one room. So we were talking about like how it took me forever to get there. And then she asked where I was coming from, and I told her I came from East Croydon because that's where I'm currently staying in the hotel. And then she said like, but where do you work? So I'm like, yeah, I currently don't work. I am looking for a job, you know. And she said, because in all honesty, I am quite an honest person, you know. Prior to all of this, I don't indulge in lies and all these games and stuff. I don't like it, you know. I don't like to pretend to be something that I'm not. So I just told her. But right now, I am being put in a situation where actually it will benefit me to lie, you know, but I don't want to lie. And so I told her, yeah, this is the situation. I'm living off my savings, and that's how I can afford to pay for the room. You know, she said, "Oh my God, that is a huge risk. I will need a guarantor. Do you have anybody to vouch for you as a guarantor?" I'm like, no. I mean, I've been living alone since I was 16. I never needed a guarantor as an adult. All of a sudden, but anyway, I told her no. And then she's like, yeah, but I need to know who you are, you know? Like, who are you? Family, family members and stuff. I'm like, I'm a private person. I don't like to involve my family, especially family which are not good, you know? If my family was so good, I wouldn't be in this situation. So I told her no, nobody, you know? Because at this stage in my life, I see myself as an orphan. I don't have anyone. So I go about my life alone. There is nobody. And she was like pushing. And this is something that the other people, that horrible people, where I just moved away from, you know, they were also asking, like pushing on my family to have details of my family members. And the guy even mentioned life and death. It's like, it's a matter of life and death. I was like, what do you mean life and death? Unless you want to kill me, why would you know, this is so far fetched. I've never lived anywhere where the landlord will ask you for like your emergency family members. That's insane. It's not an insurance that I'm taking. Um, so she pushed on that factor again. And then she told me like, yeah, in that case, I can't rent it out to you. I'm like, yeah, I totally understand, you know. If this is your business, yeah, of course, it's a huge risk. You want to know if the person that is coming in can pay the rent, you know. And you don't know me. You don't know that I am somebody who doesn't like that. Also don't know me that I will not stay somewhere where I wouldn't be able to afford it. You know, if I can't afford it, I will leave. But that aside, you don't know me. So I'm like, I'm okay with it. You know, it's like, it is what it is. I'm not going to beg you and like push for whatever reason, you know, for you to give me something that you don't want to give to me. It's like, that's fine. I'm okay with it. And I left. And on my way, the usual suspect that you will see, but I tried not to pay too much attention to it. I went to the Tesco Extra, which is like a big Tesco, just to walk around. It was raining, you know. I actually wanted to walk around in the rain, you know, because that subject that she touched, it has nothing to do with that she rejected me for that ugly ass room that she's renting out for 800 plus pounds in the ghetto of London. Um, but the subject of family, you know, my mother died in 2008. I was very young, I was very inexperienced. And prior to my mother dying, I had a family. She was my family. I had a sister, I had extended family members in parts of the world, like extended family members in the US, extended family members in the UK, extended family members in Belgium, like everywhere I had family, extended family members in the Netherlands, you know. And prior to her dying, my mother dying, so my mother died in 2008. And prior to her dying, a year before, my grandmother died. And I was very close with my grandmother. So it's like 2007, I lost my grandmother. And then 2008, I lost my mother. And then at the same time, I lost my whole family because I noticed that they were the cornerstone of my family. They were the ones that were actually holding everybody together, you know? And that's when actually I decided to leave the Netherlands and left the life that I had there. So now these people, it's like they are so pushing to traumatize me, to bring up like you don't have anyone, as if I have decided to desert my family, you know? I didn't kill my mother. I didn't kill my grandmother. One day they weren't there. And for them to ask me, like, who's your family? Who's your family? I'm not marrying your son. And I've even thought about it with this whole ordeal with Africans. You know, if, for example, I would marry into a Nigerian family because family is very important in African culture. And these are thoughts that normally also go through my mind. Like, the family would not want their son to marry me because I have no backing. There is no family behind me. You know, it's as if in those cultures, being an orphan doesn't exist. If you don't have a family, that means you are like a tree without roots. And so I came back. I was just, I wasn't even really sad. It's more like when I got back to the hotel and in the train, I was reading this book. Somebody left a book at one of the train stations when I had also viewing for a room, also an awful area. And it was about Fletcher. I don't know if it was deliberately left there for me, but anyway, I took the book and I read it. I'm still reading it. When I finish, I will leave it somewhere for somebody else to take it over. You know, so in the train, I was distracting my mind with that. And then I came back. I just walked in the rain back to the hotel, which obviously some things happened today in the hotel. And I'm not even bothered by it, you know. They can install a billion cameras for, I don't care, you know. It's just, it's so childish, and I can't control what they do. The only thing I can control is myself and how I react to it. So I'm not even bothered. They have placed these lamps, so-called lamps, but I know they are cameras, so that they can tell when I'm getting out of the hotel and stuff. But it's like, it's so ridiculous because tomorrow I'm leaving. So what's the point? So I came in, and then I just started thinking, like, this trauma, people always tell you you should get over the things of the past. But how can you get over the traumas that you have experienced if you are still living in those traumas? You know, like, how do I get it over? Because there was always something that will pull it up again. And right now I live day by day. And after things with this woman, she is not even relevant. It's not about her. It's more about the situation. That because of the doing of a third party, that I am in this situation, and I have to beg. Like, it's so obvious that I'm being treated as if I'm an outcast. She even asked, like, what happened at your last place? You know? Like, I was thinking, apparently you know more than I do. So what's the point that you are even asking me? And I didn't want to elaborate on it, so I told her I just came back from the Netherlands, and that's why I'm looking for a new space, you know? And I got in, and I'm like, I'm never going to get out of this situation. Everywhere I go, I'm made to feel as if I am an outcast. I am, I live outside the limits of the world, you know, like nowhere I belong because I am being treated less than everywhere I go. People are spreading lies about me that I do not have any control over. I don't know anything about it, but it exists. And because of that, that is why I'm in this situation. If I tell you in how much money I've wasted just by staying in hotels and then going to somewhere else where you are basically being abused. They are not hitting me, but it's the same thing. It's abuse, you know? I think psychological abuse is even worse than a physical abuse. And I can't help but just think, how am I ever going to get out of this? Nothing seems to be working. And they make you feel like, I accept that I'm an outcast because I've never been a crowd follower. I've never been like that. But then to be prevented from living a life because they sabotage my applications for jobs. They sabotage even where I am looking for rooms. They fake my calls. They delete emails. They divert my emails, they divert calls. It's like I have to accept it. Maybe I have to accept it that unless some miracle happen and I die tomorrow, or that somebody will kill me or whatever, unalive, sorry, this is social media. Somebody unalive me because I feel like everything is better than living in bondage. Then there is no way out. Because, like that woman made me feel, there is nobody. There is nobody fighting for me. There is nobody standing up for me. There is no family. It's just me. It's just me. So that is the trauma that I'm thinking of. When will this trauma end? And I don't even want to give them the satisfaction for them to see me cry, especially on camera. But I can't stop it. Some awful things have been done to me, and I can't stop it. It's so unfair. Everything that is happening to me is so unfair. I haven't done anything. I wish I killed somebody that would live even better. At least I will get in 4 years. Because of somebody's ego, the hatred. I am constantly traumatized every single day that I live. And there is no end to it. How can you heal from trauma if you are still living it?